Welcome to Lexus World, everybody, and today we'll cover off quantum board LED grow lights. And to do so, we have here the SF1000 by Spider Farmer LED as our example. We'll talk a bit about its capabilities as well as the benefits and limitations of quantum board style fixtures in general. Now, before I even dive in, I want to stress that I am not an expert on quantum board or QB lights like some other people are. I don't build QBs from scratch, and I've never grown a cycle with them firsthand. Most of what I know about them is based off of reviews and YouTube grow journals and people's experiments with them. But I do understand how to measure a light's capabilities, and QBs have no special rules when it comes to figuring out their output. So let's take a look at some features. The most obvious one is, of course, size and weight. This is only 30 centimeters by 25.5 centimeters long, and it weighs a mere 1.25 kilos, under 3 pounds. That's if you're not counting the power cord. And almost all of that weight is actually in the onboard power supply. And yet, this is a light that'll cover off a 3 by 3 foot space in vegetative phase and has a core coverage of 2 by 2 during flowering, all while pulling a mere, get this, 100.5 watts from the wall. It's also fanless, as you guys can see on the back, hence the strangely low power draw, and the fanless aspect is actually common across all QBs. Now, a lot of you may have watched my chip on board LED episode. The easiest way to think about quantum boards is as a gigantic chip on board style light that spreads the idea of the little chip over a much bigger surface area than just a 1-inch square. And due to the wide spacing between the diodes and their mounting on a cool aluminum board, it doesn't actually require any fans or even a real heatsink to cool it. Like many quantum board models, this one doesn't have too many bands. Instead, it prefers to flood the area with mostly white bluish light mixed with a splash of red and a little bit of infrared. Here are the 4 actual bands: red, infrared, white, and blue. The actual diodes here are by Samsung, and also there's a dimming function, though it takes a little bit of work to access it. It's actually easier to just move the height of the light up and down in my view, so long as you have the ceiling space. There's also obvious unique advantages that come with this design. Silent operation is one. Let me plug it in here a sec just to show you guys. Okay, and it's super bright as you can see. Tons of white light, as I said, right there. And as you guys can tell, I don't have to talk any louder because it makes no noise at all. No moving components or potential for those components to break is the other resulting big feature of all this. Spider Farmer LED also went the extra mile and actually placed waterproof glue across the entire surface of the light. See how kind of reflective it is? That's the glue, so there can't be any rust or corrosion. This is pretty much as low maintenance of a light as you can possibly have. Also, due to the design, it only needs an inch of clearance above it up to the ceiling, so it can hang this far off of the ceiling, and your plant canopy can be as close as 12 inches away from it. 18 inches is pretty far away in quantum board land. It's probably the distance that you'd hang it at for clones and seedlings and early veg, and the 12 inches is totally fair for flowering. But as a result of these specs, you can actually very comfortably grow with a QB light, even in a low ceiling environment. The biggest advantage, though, is overall energy efficiency. QB lights can produce 180 lumens or more per watt, while even good quality COBs by comparison, like Cree, often get more along the lines of 160 to 170 lumens per watt. Nothing else even comes close efficiency-wise, because how can you get any more efficient than a fanless board with lower intensity per diode design? When the conversation shifts to par, though, things get a little bit strange and you start seeing the disadvantages of QB. Here's the par chart for this light at 18 inches from the canopy. And while the values rise somewhat at 12 inches away, neither the par nor the lumens get too high up there, not to the levels that I recommend as ideal for flowering in my par episode. Will you still get proper budding at those ppfd values? Absolutely you will, it just won't be as much yield. Meanwhile, the user manual measures the par output of this SF1000 model in micromoles per joule, 2.7 micromoles per joule to be exact, which is a pretty different way of expressing it than just giving you the usual ppfd figures. The not-so-hidden message here being that this light does not produce the biggest yield in the shortest amount of time. That's not really the strength of QBs in general. What it produces is the most yield per watt of energy used of any LED fixture category that I've talked about before. If your goal is extreme energy efficiency with okay yield combined with dead silent operation, then this may be the light for your purposes. You'll be amazed at what it does grow on its tiny 100-watt power draw. If your goal is maximum yield weight in the shortest time frame and to hell with energy savings for the most part, then it probably isn't the grow light for you. A final thing I wanted to talk about is cost, because sometimes that matters a lot, especially if you're growing something other than cannabis like vegetables. Newer LED grow lighting technology is rarely affordable, but this is only $145 US, and even the biggest version Spider Farm LED, the SF1000 that'll cover a 5x5 flowering space easily, it's only a little bit over 500 bucks. I don't think I need to explain why these are inexpensive to manufacture and to pass on to the consumer. So there you go, guys. That's my overview of quantum board LED lighting, a different type of design with different goals in mind. I'll link to the SF1000 in the description below. And also, for those of you thinking that there's really way too many light reviews lately and too little of other topics, let me assure you guys that there have been lots of other topics. They just haven't been getting released on YouTube every time. To see those episodes, just make sure you're watching me on my alt platforms, which I'll also link to below. I've been taking this summer slowdown off YouTube to do episodes on there that I thought maybe possibly might be too hot for YouTube, ones that I've been a bit more reluctant to do on YouTube. Anyway, hope you guys found this useful. Please subscribe and hit that like button if you did, and we'll see you all back here next time.